Oh my God, I'm live again. Live stream. Gonna do another live stream. I hate fucking doing live streams because the internet fucks up. So I will chill for like a minute or two here before we get into the content. Make sure people file in. As usual, I have to make sure I'm doing all this right. I'm not a StreamYard expert yet. Hang on. Are we live? We are definitely live. Cool. This reminds me of that Vin Diesel thing that went viral about a year ago when he was promoting that new stupid Fast and Furious movie. And he was doing a live stream with him and one of the two actresses from the movie. He's like, we're live, we're live, we're live. Here we are. We're live. He kept repeating it over and over again like 1,000 times. Like, are you live, Vin? So we're live. Let me check a few things first, and then I will go with my stuff here. If you're seeing this correctly, you should be seeing the Sovereign CEO logo. Yes, looks good. Cool. All right. If one of you could do me a favor and just comment and make sure you could both see me and hear me, that'd be awesome. I'm gonna roll into this thing. Well, I have a big dent in my forehead. Oh, I know how I did that. Yep. Thank you, Vadeeb. Yes, my birthday was yesterday. Cool. Here they come. Here come the comments. All right, good. Cool, man. All right. Make sure I could click. There we go. Cool. Thank you. Okay, good. Okay, we're all good. Cool. All right. Well, excuse me. I turned yesterday, as of noon yesterday, so that would be 12:02 p.m. on April 20th. I reached a milestone that I've been waiting for a long time. I turned 50. And so I've been excited to turn 50. If you've been watching my videos, my content over the last maybe 2 years, I keep saying I'm 50, even though I'm not. I'm like a little kid where, you know, when you're a little kid, you're like, well, I'm not 7. A little kid's never 7. He's 7.5, or he's 7 3/4. And I've kind of been like that since I was about 48. I'm not 48, I'm 50, or I'm almost 50. I'm not 49. Never once did I register my age was 49. Never once. I was always like, I'm 50, or I'm almost 50. And the beauty of being a guy, especially when you're a guy with his shit together, is as you get older, you get better. Your life improves. Now, there comes a point, because women always bring this up, there comes a point where eventually that falls off a cliff. When you get really old, you know, how many women really want to fuck a 79-year-old man? Not very many. So there comes an age at which that drops off. But up until that point, from age 18 all the way into maybe early 60s, maybe 60. I mean, you get better and better and better. Everything gets better and better and better. Money, women, your relationship life, assuming you do the right things. And I've been living Alpha Male 2.0 now for 15 years. So this is my 40s have been a paradise. My 40s have been more exciting and amazing in my personal life, my romantic life, my business life, and my financial life than I ever thought was possible before I was 40. And so now, my objective now, which is difficult, is to ensure that my 50s are better than my 40s were, which is going to be hard. Number one, my 40s were really fucking good. Across the board, they were good. Number one, so it's going to be hard to beat that. I think I can. Number two is the physical aspect is that it's harder to stay in shape. It's harder to lose weight and keep it off and all that crap in your 50s than it is when you're 40s, and certainly your 40s when you're in your 30s. As I've said, when you hit 35, you cross that magical line. So yeah, I mean, I think I can do it though, given all that stuff. As a matter of fact, I have strongly considering, I've talked to 2 people now. When I get back to Dubai in 1 week, the countdown has begun. Thursday next week, I'm out of here. I'm back home in Dubai. I can't fucking wait. It's been so long. I want to die. And I'm never going back to Portland ever again, as I said in the last live stream. So 1 more week, man. Fuck. 1 more week. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, when I get back into Dubai, Pink Firefly and I were going to be in a temporary apartment for a little bit, and then we're going to move into our main home. We'll be looking at places to get when we get back there. And then once we get settled, what I'm probably going to do is to fix that final part of my life that is not perfect, which is my not my physical fitness, but my body fat percentage. Is there's two reasonably famous YouTubers who are fitness guys. I'm talking to both of them. I might hire one of them to be like my daily trainer and like have regular YouTube updates with him. I'm 80% there. I probably might do this. Probably might do this. Is that a phrase? It is. So anyway, that is to make sure I have the springboard into my 50s. So in this video, and again, this is a live stream. I am not here to sell anything today. I am going to mention stuff as I always, because I'm a capitalist. I'm here to make money. That's my job here. It's my role here in addition to helping you. And so what I'm going to talk about today is the things I have learned over the past 50 years. I've logged 5 decades on this earth now, and I've learned a lot of stuff. And most of my content, the primary objective of my content is to give guys the information that I wish I had had when I was younger than 50. And certainly I can help you if you're over 50 as well too. But that's kind of the whole point of everything I write, everything I design, every course, every book I write, my YouTube videos, is to give you guys the knowledge that I wish I had when I was in my teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, and now my 50s to a degree. And so first I'm going to go through, no, real quick, housekeeping items. Are we still good? I'm checking the numbers here. Cool. I'm live streaming this fucking thing, and the internet in this building, this shitty building in Portland, is not all that great. So occasionally, if this happens, if this is the same thing that happened, if what today occurs, I can't talk. If today we experience the exact same thing we experienced in the last live stream, I think 3 days ago, at least 3 or 4 times I'm going to lock up, and I'm going to have to go out of StreamYard and come back in. So if you're on the actual live stream, just wait a second, wait about 15 seconds. I'll be back. If you're watching the recording of this video, what'll happen is you'll see me freeze. Just fast forward the video about 15 seconds and I'm coming back. And of course, it's always going to freeze when I look the stupidest. I'll freeze and look like this. That's what it'll look like. It's great. So just be aware of that's going to happen. I'm sure it's going to happen 2-3 times. Love the collapsing USA. Anyway, let me do some, and then I'll open it for Q&A. Oh, so I'm going to cover that. I'm going to cover something else, and we'll open it for questions at the end. Let me check if there's any quick questions you guys have right here. Cool. That's awesome, dude. It's great. Old fuckers like me. And more old fuckers? Oh, here's an old fucker like me. It's in the last 6 months, 3 guys, 3 to 6, 9 years. Woo! You sound like me in my late 30s. Because my late 30s, that's why I was like, whoa, this is great. Yeah, cool. Cool, guys. All right. Awesome, dude. Cool. Well, you guys can keep posting questions if you'd like. What I'm going to do is, cool, dude. Thanks, guys. You guys are very nice today. Must be because it's my birthday. You guys can keep putting questions in the comments. I will circle back at the end of this content and answer your questions. So that's fine. Just don't expect me to look at a lot of comments as I'm talking because my eyes can only go to one place. And since I'm a boy, I can't multitask very well. Nor is multitasking a very smart thing to do. I can tell you that as a time management consultant. Multitasking is bad. You don't want to do this. Anyway, matter of fact, I was talking to someone, a CEO who makes a lot of money, and he was saying that the more money you make and the bigger your companies grow, the less you want to multitask. The more multitasking becomes a detriment to your income and your growth. So, and he's right. So first off, I have discussed this in some of my courses, my online courses. I think I discussed this particular thing in my Maximum Freedom course, and that is the typical life path of the typical person. And since this is Sovereign CEO, this is not Alpha Male 2.0, but it's a corollary. Sovereign CEO. Most of you guys are men, so certainly we can relate this to men, but this is the typical person. Women do this too. If you go through and statistically analyze how the typical Westerner lives from age 0 to death, and you track it by decade, here is the basic life path. Matter of fact, this is a part of a speech that I used to give when I did a lot more professional speaking, public speaking, back 15 plus years ago. And this is how it works, okay? If you look at the statistics and you look and you watch people grow, and maybe even yourself have experienced this, regardless of your age, this is what people do throughout their lives, decade by decade, okay? The first decade is from age 0 to age 10. And in your first decade, you learn to become a human being. That's the objective, and that's what you do, and that's what your time is spent in your first decade of life. You learn how to eat. You learn how to use a toilet. You learn how to speak. You learn how to write. You learn how to interact with other human beings so you don't look like a barbarian. You learn basic mathematics. You learn how to be a person from age 0 to age 10, which means, which is good, you got to do that, but you don't accomplish a lot. I don't know about you. I didn't accomplish a hell of a lot prior to 10. I really didn't. I mean, I made a little money. I used to sell newspapers door to door, and I used to sell Christmas cards, a bunch of other things, so that was always a little baby capitalist, and my parents had very little money, so that was the only way I could get money, is by earning it myself. But I didn't really accomplish anything, and likely you probably didn't either, unless you're some kind of child prodigy or you live in China and you have a dragon mother. Other than that, you probably didn't accomplish a lot because you were spending that first decade learning how to be a human being. All right. So then it comes to the second decade of life, and that is your teens. So in your teens, what do you do in your teens? In your teens, you learn how to become an adult. That's the focus of your teens. You learn how to drive a car. You learn how to have sex, hopefully. You learn how to go get a job and get paid for that work, hopefully. You learn basic tasks like homework, where you have to do something by a certain deadline or else you're in trouble. And you learn how to do that. That's all about, and hopefully you learn, at least historically, not these days anymore, but historically, you would move out in your mid to late teens and you learn how to pay your bills and balance your checkbook and things like that. Today, not so much. You got guys in their 30s staying home with mommy and daddy because of the collapsing civilization in which we live. But normally, under normal conditions, you would learn these adult skills. And we could have a big discussion about whether or not the typical person at age 20, man or woman, is an adult. Probably not. But that's my point. But the overall point is the second decade of your life is you learn to become an adult. And again, that is good. But again, you probably didn't accomplish a lot in your teenage years. Now, yes, we could all read these crazy stories about these 14-year-olds who make $10 million in Bitcoin. Those are the rare fraction of 1% exception to the rule. Most likely you didn't accomplish a lot when you were in high school. I sure as fuck didn't. I didn't have a bad time in high school, but I didn't even lose my virginity until I was in my early 20s. So, and my guess is you probably didn't accomplish a lot either. So now you're at age 20 and you have not really accomplished shit. You're starting from ground zero at age 20, unless you were born wealthy and you have a lot of money from your parents. I was not in that category. I doubt you're in that category. If you are, that's wonderful, but I wasn't. So then you have your third decade of life, and that is your 20s. What do people do in their 20s? It's very simple. Here's what people do in their 20s. They fuck up their life. That's what people in their 20s do. They make these huge catastrophic mistakes. They get tattoos and they think they're great. And then when they're 30s, they go, holy shit, these look like shit. They have to spend thousands of dollars removing their tattoos. They file bankruptcy. If you look at the data, most people who file bankruptcy are people in their 20s. If they're Americans, they go to college. Okay, and they go to college and they get a degree in history, and they go into debt $80,000, and now they can never pay it back, and they have a useless college degree. That's something stupid that people in their 20s do. Women will have babies out of wedlock, or in my world, out of a serious committed relationship with a guy who has money, and so they become single mothers and fuck up their lives. Men get one-itis. I talk about how men under the age 23 basically live in an existence of one-itis. They can't not get one-itis. So if you're a man, you get one-itis over and over again for the wrong women who are bitches who treat you horribly. You do drugs. You do too much drugs. You drink alcohol. You drink too much alcohol. You smoke weed. You smoke too much weed. You watch Netflix way too much. You play way too much time playing video games. On and on and on and on. Most of these mistakes are made in people's 20s. For God's sake, God forbid, you're like me when I was in my 20s and you get married. Jesus Christ. Now, less men are getting married in their 20s today than they used to. The average age of men getting married used to be 23. Now it's 29. Men still get married. The red pill myth about men are running away from marriage. No, they fucking don't. They just wait till their 30s and then they get married. But my point is, if it's not married, you move in with a woman, You have all kinds of horrible relationship problems. You have financial problems. You fart around in your career. You dork around with these stupid jobs. And you start a business, then you get bored and start another business and get bored. Or worst case, a lot of you in my audience, unfortunately, you're really smart, which means you sit on your ass and don't do anything. You just watch YouTube videos and read blog articles and read books all day. You never have to get off your ass and do anything. That's shit in your 20s. So in your 20s, you cause a massive amount of damage in your life, and that is normal. And if you don't believe me, look at yourself in your 20s. Look at most people you've known in their 20s. This is kind of what they do. They fuck up their lives. And that is normal. That is a normal path of progression for the typical human in the Western world. So now we get into the next decade of life, which is your 30s. What do you do in your 30s? What do most people do in their 30s? If you watch people, you study the statistics, what people do is that they repair the damage they did in their 20s. That's what most people do in their 30s. So they've gone through the horrible divorce. Now they're 36 and they're like, okay, I'm not doing that again. I better make sure I don't have stupid relationships anymore. Or maybe for the first time, and this is statistically true, they start making real sustainable money. This includes women, by the way. They start making sustainable income. They don't have their electricity shut off anymore. They have sustainable income now. They kind of batten down the hatches. They kind of grow up. You think people grow up when they're 18. That's not true anymore. They grow up when they're about 35. This is why I've talked about many times how when you cross age 35 as a man, you cross from younger to older. This happens in your 30s. The challenge with this is that in your 30s, you don't accomplish a lot. I say you, I'm using the royal you. I don't mean you literally, but possibly the statistical you. Most human beings, most Westerners. By the end of your 30s, you've spent most of your time in your 30s repairing all the stupid bullshit you did in your 20s, which means by the time you are now 40, you still have accomplished a lot. You're almost starting from zero again when you're hit 40. This is many people. Romantically, financially, in your career, your investments, maybe with your physical health in some cases. You almost start all over again when you're 40, almost like when you were 20. Because you spent the first 10 years fucking up your life, the second 10 years repairing the damage. So you're now been an adult 20 years, you haven't really accomplished anything. And that's why. And, someone made a point. Yeah, paying off debt. You start paying off debt in your 30s. Correct. You kind of start cleaning up your shit in your 30s, right? If you still live at home when you're 29, finally you fucking move out of your home. Kill me. I moved out of my house when I was 18, but I don't know. I don't want to brag. I'll talk about my... Hang on, I'm frozen. Am I back? I'm back. Connection unstable. Hang on a moment. Ping test looks good. Okay. All right. So let me rewind myself. So now you're 40. You, the royal you, the statistical you, you're 40. And in your 40s, you actually start to build life infrastructure. You actually start from zero, but then you don't have all the stupid shit in your head. So most people really start to build their lives in their 40s. And so in your 40s, certainly as a man, I've heard many guys on the internet say that 40s is a prime time for a man, not physically, but in all other aspects of life. 40 is prime time. And I agree with that statement. As long as you don't let your health go to shit, as long as you don't get fat and disgusting and bald, in your 40s, you do some really cool shit as a man. Less true with women, but women have different life paths than men. But the point is, in your 40s, you really start to make money. You really start to do well statistically. And you start actually building a life in your 40s for the first time in your life. Now, that's a little sad if you think about this, because that means you had to wait 40 fucking years to actually start getting anything done. Okay? Sucks. It's not good, right? Okay. Next decade, you get in your 50s. Okay, you hit 50. What is the primary focus of the typical person in their 50s? The primary focus of the typical person in their 50s is, oh shit, I don't have enough money to retire. That's what most people do in their 50s. They start thinking about being old. They start thinking about retirement, which is a ridiculous and stupid concept invented by the Germans in the 1800s. It is literally meaningless. I will never retire. And if you want to retire, either you are stupid or that means you work at McDonald's. So yes, you work at McDonald's your whole life. Certainly you're hoping you retire someday, but that's not the lifestyle models that I teach. So anyway, they start thinking about retirement because that's what societal programming is told them to think about. And they go and they look at their bank account and they have like, you know, they might have by the time they're 50, they might have a savings account of like $22,000 in there. And they might have a 401k with maybe, you know, another $30,000. And maybe they own a house with like $100,000 equity in it. Okay, so all told, they've got like $150,000 net worth. You can retire on that? No, even you move to Thailand, it'd be tough to retire on that shit. So that's the problem when you do that shit, is that now you are in your 50s and you're freaking out because you don't have enough money. That's most people. I wrote an article at my blog several years ago, and this is an opinion I've always had, by the way. This is an opinion I had back in my 20s when I had no money. And this is not Alpha Male 2.0. This is not Sovereign CEO. This is just Caleb's shithead opinion. My opinion is any man who lives in the Western world should be a millionaire, have $1 million net worth by the time he is 50. That is my opinion. And I think if you don't have $1 million net worth, I didn't say $1 million cash in the bank. I said $1 million net worth by the time you're 50. The question I have is, you've been working for 30 years. What the fuck have you been doing? And I started formulating this opinion back in when I had no money in my 20s, because I would meet guys in their 50s who had no money. I worked with a guy, nice guy. His name was Ken, and really good guy, get along great. And it was a really good business partner, and wasn't literally a partner, but we partnered together on several things when I was a computer consultant. And he would talk about, he lived in an apartment, rents a little apartment with his wife. I had one kid, and he talked about how he had no money. He had no money to retire. He basically lived, you know, paycheck to paycheck, and he was in his early 50s. And I'm sitting there thinking, and this is a very intelligent man, far smarter than me. And I'm sitting there thinking, and I met a lot of guys like this. I still do to this day. That's my thought was, wait a minute. You've been working more years than I've been alive. This is when I was like 25, 24, something like that, right? So he's been working in the marketplace longer than I've been alive, and he has no money. What the fuck have you been doing for 30 years? That's always my thought when I meet people over 40, over 50, who have no money or very little money. What the fuck have you been doing? Well, I got a divorce. I had a divorce. Many of you know this, okay, 15 years ago, and I lost a hunk of money in that divorce. I recovered. The beauty of divorce is you don't have a wife anymore. You go make more money. It's the beauty of getting a divorce. So that's a bullshit excuse. So anyway, that's my opinion about age 50. So in their 50s, most human beings, if you look at statistics, are opposite. They have no fucking money. Matter of fact, in their 40s, they've made a hunk of money, but what do they do with their money? They spend it all. And the reason they spend it all is because in your 40s, usually you have a thing called a wife, or the wife equivalent. Maybe you're not legally married, but you have a live-in girlfriend. You have things called children, which are ridiculously expensive. I've done several YouTube videos now and articles where I said in the Western world, the modern era in the 2020s, you should not have children at all unless you make a strong six-figure income and or you're a multimillionaire, because having children today is something only very rich people should do in the Western world. If you want to move to Cambodia and stay there the rest of your life, have all the kids. But if you live in the United States, you know, the UK, Australia, you're going to live there the rest of your life and have kids. I hope you have a shitload of money, bro. I hope you have a lot, because having kids is so expensive. It's kind of ridiculous. And that's another reason why people in their 50s have no money. So then what do people do in their 50s? They fucking scramble. They often downsize. They start cutting expenses. They get a second job. They try to start a business. They do whatever they can to sock money away for retirement. Okay. That leads into the next phase of life, your 60s, the next decade. And when you're in your 60s, statistically speaking, you're poor. So I'm going to give you some statistics off the top of my head. I might be a little off on these, but I'm pretty close. You are feel free to Google everything I'm about to say. What I'm about to say is accurate. The typical American, I can't speak for Europeans. They're probably Canadians. They're probably very similar. But the typical American, by the time the typical American reaches age 35, 30% of them are already dead. 30% of people die before they hit age 35 or 65, okay? So they don't even reach that far. They're fucking dead, okay? Then 1% is wealthy, multi-gazillionaire, right? 4% are well off. Something like 13% are okay but dependent. So they're okay, but they depend on Social Security, their kids helping them out, charity, church. They're okay. They're not living in squalor, but they are 100% dependent on the financial resources of others, even if that's the government. And then all the rest, whatever that ends up being, the other 30% are poor. Don't believe me? Look it up. So it's not like people think, well, people are in their 60s have money. No, only a small percentage of people in their 60s have any money because they go through the process I just talked about. They don't really start accomplishing anything until their 40s. They don't make enough in their 40s. They spend it all in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and so on. And then 70s, and the average life expectancy for a man at least is what? Is 79? Keeps changing. 79 or so. Is that right? 70? Yeah, 79 or something like that. So 70. So in your 70s, even if you have money, you're too old to do anything. And then you break a hip and you die. Matter of fact, I mentioned some of this in The Unchained Man. If you got those who've read that book. So let me give a drink. That's the typical path of the typical person. And if you don't believe anything I just said, don't take as always, I've said this many times, don't take my word for it. Google and do your own research and you'll see. So that's what I used to call path A. Okay. There's another path called path B. Path B is a little different than path A. Path B is this. First decade, first 10 years are the same. Second decade, your teens the same. Then your 20s. In your 20s, instead of fucking up your life, you sit down and you blow your brains out with work. You work as hard as you can. You put your head down and you work. You start a business or you climb the corporate ladder, hopefully not. Follow my models. You start your own Alpha 2.0 location of a business and you work and you work and you work. You don't have a lot of sex. You don't travel. You don't get drunk. You don't hang out with your friends. You don't spend a lot of time playing video games. You don't spend a lot of time smoking weed and watching Netflix. You work. You work and you work. And you do that for your most of your 20s. You blow your fucking brains out. And everyone makes fun of you. Everyone calls you a nerd. And you don't have any friends. And you don't get laid. It sucks. Okay? Your 20s suck. But then you get in your 30s. And for the rest, I draw this out. For the rest of your life, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, it's smooth sailing. Because you have all the money in the world now. Now, for the rest of your life, as of age 30, 31, 32, you have all the money you want. You get all the pussy you want. You can travel whenever you want. You don't have to work too hard to maintain what you've got because you busted your ass the first 10 years of your life. The rest of your life is smooth sailing. Now, the reason people don't do that is because they don't want to do that in their 20s. Like, well, I want to use my youth to have fun. And have fun in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And invest in your 20s. Now, you may say, well, Caleb, I'm 50. Okay, I understand it's not going to work for you. I get it. So that's the model that I used to teach. I still teach it to a degree. I've modified this last 20 years because this was pre-Alpha Male 2.0. But it's true. One of my mentors, I mentioned Brian Tracy last time we did a live stream, and one of his analogies is, I'll steal this analogy, but it's his, is that when you are in an airplane, okay, and you're on the runway and you're taking off, you have to push the engine to full throttle, 100% full throttle. Okay. And the reason you do that is if you don't go to 100%, you don't get off the ground. So you have to go 100% full throttle to get up into the sky. And as you're climbing, you're still at 100% full throttle. Okay. But something interesting happens. When you get up to cruising altitude, when you get up to, 35,000 feet or whatever the hell it is, okay, depends on the plane. When you get up there, you pull back. Are you 100% full throttle the whole time? No, you run out of gas. The pilot pulls back to 5% of throttle, 5% for the rest of the trip. And life works that way. If you invest your time early on, and this doesn't matter how old you are, I don't care if you're 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, okay, or older than me, I don't care. If you bust your ass and fucking focus and sacrifice a little bit, which no one today wants to do, and it's the worst day I've ever seen it. But if you do that for a few years, the rest of your life is a lot easier. Now, going along with the analogy, Brian Tracy said this, and he's right. He's absolutely right about this. He said, here's what most people do, or a lot of people. What a lot of people do is they get in the plane and they push it to 95% throttle or 90% throttle. And so they work and they work and they work and they bust their ass, but they never get off the ground because they don't want to go an extra 5% for that 100%. And they work 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 and they I think of single mothers when I think of this. They work so hard. Oh my God, they work and they go out and kids that hate them, and guys who work in the corporate world, they work and they work and they work and they work. Attorneys and shit, they work and they work. Guys who own non-Alpha 2.0 location dependent businesses, they work and they work and they work for decades and decades and they never really make a lot of money. They don't make a lot. They make some money, but they never can enjoy it or spend it because they're too busy working. And it's usually working at something they don't like. I like my work. 80% of what I do approximately, I would do for free or close to it. I like my work. My work is fun. 20% I don't like, but 80% I like a lot. But that doesn't describe these people. If they just push it to 100% for a few years, then they take off. But they say things like, well, I don't want to do that. Hey man, I want to live in the now. I want to enjoy my life. And, are there other parts of life you want to enjoy? And again, yes, you do that for a few years. You invest for a few years. I have told you guys, everyone watching this video could have an Alpha 2.0 location independent business making at least $85,000 a year between 2 and 5 years from now. And now you're thinking, oh my God, that's a long time. 3 years? Fuck. Okay, wait a minute. I've said this before. Take your current age. Let's say it takes 5. Let's say you're a moron. Okay, you're an idiot. So it takes you 5 years. It won't take you 5 years. Follow my stuff. If you follow my models, it won't take you 5 years. And I said, there's a program coming up in May or June. We'll actually walk your hand, take your hand, and actually do it for you. Anyway, setting up your own Alpha 2.0 business. But let's say you're totally stupid. It takes you 5 years. Okay, fine. Take your current age right now. Get that in your head. Well, how old are you right now? Okay. Add 5. Now you're 100% location dependent and have good income for the rest of your life. Is that a good ROI? Yes. Even if you're an old fucker like me, even if you're in your 50s, it's still a very good ROI. So why are you bitching about 2 years, 3 years, 4 years of hard work? And it's not that hard. Yes, you're going to have to work. This isn't get rich quick. You're going to have to work. Sorry. You have to, and if you have a job, you have to work another 10, 15, 20 hours a week in addition to your job, which is what I did in my 20s. So this path B is something that I did. More or less, not exactly, but pretty close. I talked about this. I was making $100,000 a year working, 100,000. By the time I was 30, I was making a 6-figure income working 4 days a week. And I've said this before. I'll say it again. This is true. I could right now work 2 days a week. Now, there'd be long days. It'd be like a 10-hour day, maybe another 10-hour day. I could work 2 full days a week and take the rest of the week off and do that for the rest of my life. And I'd be perfectly fine. I would maintain my income. I wouldn't grow my income. Lots of people would be very angry with me. That's true, but I could do it. I work because I choose to. I like my work and because I have big goals and I have a mission and all that fun stuff. But you know my point. I mean, you get my point. Can't talk. Another water. Hang on a second. Okay. So with all that context, let me run through my life really quick. I'm going to run through 50 years really fast. How are we doing on time here? Where's the timer? Oh, we're doing good. Okay. Crazy week this week because we're packing and I'm setting up storage units and shutting down things and it's a fucking mess. All right. So I'm not going to go through my entire life because that would take a little more time than we have today. But I'm going to go through the decades of my life and what I learned in those decades. Okay. So first decade of my life, if you guys know my story, I was raised by a traditional family. My dad had a family of 7. He was a low-income guy who supported a family of 7 on his entire income throughout the 1970s. He was the last generation of men who were able to do that. Today, the typical low-income man can't even pay himself. He has to live at home with mommy and daddy or have a roommate. But back in those days, before everyone collapsed their own currencies and destroyed their economies, and before the collapse started really happening in the early 2000s, poor guys could do this. He wasn't poor, he was low income. And so I was the oldest of 5 kids. And so very little money. And it frustrated me that we had no money. I've written articles about this on my blogs. Depends on how long you've been following my content. It really pissed me off that we didn't have any money. We were very financially strapped. My mom had to, in order to have a Christmas, my mom had to save up all year. She had a little Christmas savings account. Every once in a while, she put like $5 in there, $10 in there for the entire year. And that's how she was able to afford money for Christmas. And each kid got about 3 presents, and they were little. And once a year, there was one designated kid who got the big, like a bike or something. But it was only 1 out of the 5 of us. And every year she'd rotate which kid that was. Things like that. And so was not very fun for me. My childhood was fine. I didn't have a horrible, my childhood was very average. At least 80s average. Okay, 1970s, 1980s average. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It was just very normal. And one of the things that I discovered, one of the first things I learned was that People have different priorities, and your priorities might not be other people's priorities. That's why I've said that Alpha Male 2.0, not Sovereign CEO, but Alpha Male 2.0 only really applies to 5 to 10% of men. I am not going to sit here and say that everyone should be non-monogamous and everyone should leave the United States or the Western world. I'm not going to say that because most people go, why? So it's only as small as I niched. This is niched content you're getting today. And so I discovered that when I was a kid because my siblings didn't care. They didn't care. My parents had no money. We could not get any toys, and the cakes for birthdays were terrible, and our clothes were shitty, and the house was shitty, and everything was shitty. They didn't mind at all. I had 4 other siblings. I had myself, I had 2 sisters and 2 little brothers. They were perfectly happy with my parents' financial condition. For some reason, it pissed me off, and I was the only one pissed off about it. And so this is not nature or nurture, because these were genetically my siblings, same mom and dad. Okay, I do have a half brother who was older than me, who grew up separately from me. But these are 100% brothers and sisters, 100% siblings, can't talk. And we were raised in the same house by the same family, by the same 2 parents. Yet we had very different opinions about what life should look like. And what's interesting today is my siblings today are radically different from me. We're all very different, which is odd because my mom has a lot of brothers, and one of her brothers has 5 children also, and they're all clones. He has 5 children, I think 3 boys and 2 girls, and they're all clones. They look the same, they act the same, they live the same. Me and my siblings are all radically different. I mean, radically different. I can do a thing. I wrote an article at my blog. It's called My Family, where I describe my siblings. But they're all very different than me, and they're all very different from each other. And so that's the first thing I learned, is that you can't just say, do this, it'll apply to everybody. Nothing I teach applies to everybody. What I teach applies to a segment of the world. It's a small segment of rational thinkers who want to be happy and who hold happiness as a higher priority than societal programming. Because that's not most people. Most people, societal programming is more important to me than my own happiness. And I've written about that in The Unchained Man, alphamalebook.com. Read all about that. So that's the first decade of my life. Second decade of my life was when I was in high school. Okay. And I learned a few things in high school, but here's something that I learned that I capitalized on later in life. When I was in high school, I've talked about this before, I did not lose my virginity until I was 22 or 23, okay? But I did date girls in high school. So the time I was a junior, senior in high school, I worked up enough courage, and it was hard, and it was scary, because I was a normal beta male guy, but I worked up enough courage to ask girls, which a lot of guys, most guys in high school never do. I don't know how high schoolers are today, but back in the 80s, most guys did not date any girls. There was a small percentage of guys in a high school who would actually go on dates with girls. And most of my friends, who are not nerds, they weren't losers, but they weren't popular or cool, they were just normal everyday Joes, did not date girls. A few of them did, most of them didn't. Well, that's not true. Actually, most of them did. I take that back. A lot of them did do that. But some of them were average, and in terms of the women. And I learned that, here's what I learned in high school. And I remembered this in my 30s. I'm trying to jump ahead of the story. But here's what I learned that really helped me out. And if you get this in your head, it will help you, okay? If you ask out 10 girls, okay, and they're all super hot, they're all 8s, 9s, 10s, okay, smoking hot. You ask out 10 girls, 9 of them tell you to fuck off and say, ooh, you're gross, get the fuck out of here. And they make fun of you and they call you names, so they laugh at you, okay? 1 of them says yes. What do you end up with? You're going out with a smoking hot girl, okay? And everyone asks, how the hell did he get her? Because that was my experience in high school. So I would ask out a bunch of girls. I realized if I'm going to ask out a bunch of girls and most are going to say no, then I might as well ask out the prettiest girls. Because if I ask out 5 average looking girls and 2 or 3 say yes, or even 1 says yes, the best case scenario is I have a few dates with some average looking girls. If I ask out 5 smoking hot blonde girls and 1 of them says yes, I'm going out with a smoking hot girl. So literally my sisters were right below me. So my sisters went to high school with me. So that, they would see me in high school, or I would bring a girl over to the house. And my sisters, who were frankly a little more cool than I was, my sisters were a little more cool. They'd be like, so I'd have a girl over the house and she'd leave. And they'd be like, how did you How'd you get her? You're not that cool. I mean, Caleb, you're not bad, but you're not cool. How'd you get her? She's super hot. What the fuck is this? They were very confused. I said, because I'm awesome. No, that wasn't true. The answer was because I asked out 4 other girls who told me to fuck off. Matter of fact, I remember once when I was in high school, I had no game. Okay, this was before PUA. This is the 80s. Okay, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I said, you want to go on a date? You know, but even that works if you put enough numbers. I learned this for later. This will all tie back later. I remember, so embarrassed. I would get in my little piece of shit car, my 1979 Toyota Supra, okay, that cost me $2,000. I had to pay for it myself. My parents chipped in a little bit because then I had to promise to drive my brothers and sisters to and from school. So they paid a little bit for the car, but most car I had to pay for myself. And I roll up in my piece of shit 1979 black Toyota Supra, and it pulled up in this parking lot of a shopping center. It was down the street from the high school, and there was this super smoking hot blonde chick. I was a senior, and she was a sophomore. So I'm like, well, I'm a senior. Of course she's going to say yes to me. I mean, so I pull up right next to her, followed her down, right? Pulled up next to her when she was walking in a certain direction. Leaned out my window and say, hey, how's it going? She's like, oh, fine. And I had never spoken to this woman. She had never seen me before. She had no idea who I was. I said, I'm Caleb. She goes, okay. I said, you probably heard of me. I said this. And she's like, she does this. She goes, I said, cool. You want to go out? You want to go out like, sometime like next week or something? She goes, I said, okay. And I drove off. That's great. But again, shit. That didn't work, but some other ones worked. I didn't have sex because I was too scared. That's a whole separate problem. So that's what I learned in high school. I also learned in high school that this doesn't really matter now, but to be on trend. So I started getting into computers in the 80s. I've talked about how between 1977, approximately, okay, and 1994 was a golden age of computers. That was the goal, and we'll never see it ever again, at least not with computers. Maybe some other technology that happens in the future. But that was 1977 to about 1994 was a super exciting time to be alive, because every 6 months there was a new computer that would blow your mind away. You'd be blown away. My God. You guys who are my age or older, you can relate to this. You guys who are young, you've never experienced anything like this. You would get a computer, right? You'd get like the Apple II, right, in 1979. And it was amazing. You could type on a keyboard and the letters would show up, and you could hit backspace and it would backspace over them. You wouldn't have to use an eraser on a piece of paper or a typewriter. We used to have to use fucking typewriters. You had to have this chalky shit to erase letters. It was a you could copy and paste. The first time you could copy and paste a paragraph, and again, you guys are my age. You remember this. You could copy and paste a paragraph and put it up here. Oh my God. Okay, then a little later, you got the Commodore 64. Holy shit, it had colors, and you have voices, and there were games that looked better than the Atari. It blew your fucking mind. Then just a few years later, you had the Macintosh, and you had a mouse, and you'd move the mouse and the arrow, and you could do thinking. Okay, we're back. I think we're back. Am I back? We're back. Sorry about that. You guys who are my age or older, think back to the first time you used a Macintosh. It blew you away. You're like, what the hell? This is like magic in a box. This is insanity. Okay, then we had the 286 and the 386. So like the late 80s, you get the or early 90s, the 386 33, and that thing would run Windows, and you'd have Windows, then Windows. But see, I'm dating myself here. Back in those days, you had Windows, and when you'd click on like Microsoft Word, you'd click it, and the mouse would turn into a hourglass, and it would just sit there like this. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, then Word would go, come up on the screen. Now that was amazing. The first time I downloaded a bikini pic of a girl in like 1991, okay, you had to use things called modems, and it was amazing. You'd click with the BBS, okay, and it would connect, and you download this picture, and you see a little line at the top of the screen with some colors. You're like, oh, what's that? And you see another line, like 4 minutes, you see another line, and you see a little bit of her hair. You're like, oh my God, in 20 minutes, I'm gonna see this whole girl. It was amazing, okay? But then you got, that was a 38633. Then you got the 38666, 6 months later, and you'd click on something, it'll go, ugh, instead of, 20 seconds, it'd be like 3 seconds. Well, 20 seconds, 3 seconds is a huge difference. It's like, oh my God. Then eventually you get like the 4633, the 4666, and then they made the Pentium. Holy shit. The Pentium, you would click something and it'd come right up. And they had OS2. Holy shit. Then 1994, 1995 came around, and guess what? Every new computer was the same computer. So basically, the laptop I have sitting right here on my desk in 2022 is pretty much the same as the laptop I had in 1997. In 1997, I had a high-end laptop that was pretty fast. Today, I have a high-end laptop that's pretty fast. There's no revolutionary change since the mid-90s. So computers very quickly got very boring. Then you have the internet, but that's not necessarily, that is computers, but not what I'm talking about. Matter of fact, the internet was a problem because now the internet is slow, or the computers are slow or fast based on your internet connection, not based on how fast the processor or the RAM is. So pre-internet, it was all about the hardware. So that's such a big deal. But anyway, I moved into that world, and I knew, okay, there's money here. There's money in this world. There's money in this computer world. Not only is it exciting, there's money here, because I saw Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and all those guys make money when I was a teenager. Like, okay, there's money here. So then I moved into my 20s. And let's see, I moved out when I was 18 years old, and it was very hard to move out. I've talked about how difficult that was. I went and got a job at, my first job was data entry, where literally, I've mentioned this before, I was sitting in a chair, okay? This little room was a hospital, and it was all these fat old ladies and me. Okay? I was the only boy, and I was the only person under the age of probably 50, okay? And I was the only one who wasn't overweight. And we're sitting in this room, and here was my job. You had a keypad here, and you had a stack of papers here that had the credit card, not the credit card, the membership numbers of the hospital embossed, or that thing they used to use for credit cards on the papers. And so my job was this. You ready? Here we go. This is my job. Reading the numbers and typing them in. 8 hours a day. Okay. Very exciting. Very exciting shit. At least I was on computers. And see, and today, a lot of millennials, Gen Z, look, well, I don't want to do that. That's bullshit. Your first job sucks. That's how this works. My first job sucked ass. That's how it works. My first job. Then eventually, after a lot of work, I got a job at Central Point Software, which is a DOS utilities company. It was later bought out by Symantec. I was 19 years old. I was the youngest guy in the entire company when I was first hired, because I was just very aggressive about it. And I wrote an article called How I Got My First Job at Age 18 at my blogs. You can check that out. And I kind of went back over and over again and shoved this resume in this guy's face and drove him crazy. I said, "Oh, fine, you're hired." Anyway, and I started making decent money. It took me a while, but I did. I started my business a few years after that, part-time. I worked about 20 hours a week. In addition to my day job, I worked evenings and weekends. And I realized that I could charge $35, $25, sometimes $50 an hour instead of getting paid whatever I was getting paid at my job. Something like, I don't know what I got paid back then, 15 bucks an hour maybe, before taxes. And I'm like, damn, well, Jesus, if I can make $50 an hour or 15 an hour, I don't need a lot of hours to replace my income making 15. So I came up with a formula. How many billable hours would I need at $75 an hour? Because I think that's, or 50? I think it was $75 an hour, which is when I first started charging as a computer consultant when I went full time. And I think the number was 11. If I get 11 billable hours a month or a week, I forget the math, then I'm making enough money that I made at Nike, which was my last job before I quit when I was 24. And so I made that transition when I was 24 in 1996, October of 1996. I quit my last job. I haven't had a job since October of 1996. That was Nike. I worked for a company called First Interstate Bank before that. Nike was my last company. And then I have been self-employed since then. And that was as a computer consultant. And you already know the story. I busted my ass for about 3.5 years and got to the six figures by the time I was 27 and a half, something like that. So I learned that if you put in the work, they don't care if you have a college degree. They don't care what your background is. They don't care how old you are. I will, to this day, I'll still get guys saying, well, I can't do X, Y, and Z in the business world because I don't have a college degree. No, when you're self-employed, they don't give a shit. They don't care what your college degree. No one ever said when I was getting jobs as a computer consultant, as a dorky looking, guy in his 20s, did you go to college? What was your GPA in high school? No one asked that. You know what? It's very strange. No one gave a shit. They just said, what is your skill set? What have you done for other people? That's it. So I figured out really quick, as long as you put in the work and position yourself a certain way, you can make a lot of money, even if you didn't go to college, even if you didn't have a high school diploma, which I didn't. So to be clear, I did not drop out of high school. Did I mention this last time? Yeah, I did mention this last time. I got 1 credit under what you need to graduate, so I didn't get my diploma. I actually went to the graduation ceremony in high school when I was 18 with my cap and gown. And the only thing is, when you open up the little booklet they give you, it's empty. There's no diploma in there. I didn't give a shit. I'm like, I don't care. I want to make money. I don't care about this shit. So that was my 20s. Oh, and my 20s, I made one of the biggest mistakes of my life. I got married at age 25 to a cute blonde girl who had a son. I adopted him when he was 4 or 5 years old. And then we got married. And then my daughter came after that. And so by the time I was 30, I had a nice house. I had a cute blonde wife. I had 2 kids. And I had the 6-figure income. I had all the goals I had set when I was 18. So that's how my 30s began. And I don't want to repeat this story because I think I've told enough times, but maybe enough of you are new where it would make sense. I woke up one day in my early 30s saying, this is not the life that I want. This company sucks. I have to work 70 hours a week. It's location dependent. I can't go anywhere. The company kind of owns me instead of me owning the company. It's all based on selling dollars for hours. Yes, I have employees, but then I got to manage the fucking employees. Employees are a pain in my ass. I had a marriage that was a traditional monogamous marriage that did not make me happy at all. There was nothing majorly wrong with her per se. It was more about the model that we had. If I wanted to have sex, she would say no, and then we'd argue and 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 argue. Because when you're monogamous, if the woman says no, you're screwed. Actually, you're not screwed, as the case may be. You have no other options. Yes, you can cheat, but I don't want to do that either, because if you cheat and get caught, then you get divorced, you lose half your money, blah, 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 blah. So I love my children, but every other aspect of my life was off. And so what I did, I've talked this many times, I'm just going to buzz this really quick. When I was approximately 33 years old, I do what I recommend you guys do. This is something I got from my mentors, is that on a nice sunny day, I took my laptop out to a park. I sat down, pulled up a blank Word document that came up quick, and I wrote out my perfect life. If I had nothing in my life, if I was single, if I had no kids and no money and no business, and starting from zero, it's called zero-based thinking, Brian Tracy again, you write out, this is called your vision, you write out every aspect of your life if it was perfect. And I wrote out how much money I was making, how I was making it, what my business looked like, what my relationship life looked like, what my sex life looked like, my family life looked like, my social life, my physical fitness life, my investments, my lifestyle, traveling, international stuff. I wrote all that out. And I rewrote it. I reread it. And I realized it was completely the opposite of what I currently have, other than my 2 kids. I like my 2 kids. But other than that, it was the completely opposite. It was nothing like anything I want. My life did not match that paper at all. And so from that day forward, I started slowly, the very slow and painful, and it was painful conversion from beta male to alpha male 2.0. I did a number of things. I talked a lot about them in the Unchained Man, alpha book to come. You can read about that, how I reoriented my entire company. And I fired all my employees. I did it nicely. I'd give them all recommendations, make sure they had the jobs. I closed down my office. I started working on my home. I reoriented how I build clients. I reoriented my entire bookkeeping system. I reoriented my time management. Then I got divorced because this was not a marriage that was serving me or her. And when I got divorced, I converted to a non-monogamous lifestyle when I was 35. And that was fucking amazing. I've been living that way for 15 years now. It's a paradise. And so within a few years, I made this conversion. The transition was difficult. But as I said earlier, You have a set pain point of time, and then you get to the good stuff. If you read my materials, I talk about the happiness change curve. And it's a curve that looks like this. Okay, so you start at a certain condition. On a scale of 1 to 10, maybe you start at 4. You want to improve. You want to get to a 9. You don't go from 4 to a 9. That's not how life works. Instead, you go from 4 to 1, and it sucks, and you're in pain, and you hate it. But then you go back up to 2, then up to 3, then up to 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, then 9. And then you're at 9 the rest of your life. But you have to go through that pain point. You have to go through those transitions. I had to reorient my entire view of what a business was. I had to reorient my entire view of what a sexual romantic relationship was with a woman. I had to reorient all these things. And so by the time I was, and then in the middle of all that, again, I'm going to buzz through real quick. You know my story. Most of you do. 2008 happened. 60% of my income was instantly wiped out. The only reason I survived is because I had multiple streams of income in different niches, and that saved me. And so 2009 was a very difficult year financially for me. It was one of the worst years I've had financially. Finally, in 2010, I got everything back to normal, and this time without the overhead of a wife or a traditional wife. And my life has been amazing since then. And so that was my 30s. My 40s, as I've already mentioned, has been, I can't even begin to describe how wonderful my 40s have been. The typical, I've said this before in podcasts and stuff, and if you, it sounds like I'm bragging, it is sort of, but it's factual. If you were to give myself in my 20s, if I were to go back in time and show myself my phone, okay, let me show you something. In the last 3 weeks, here are the pictures of the women you've had sex with, okay, that I've had sex with in my 40s. And let me tell you how much money I'm making. Let me tell you how much money I made last month that actually kept. And let me tell you how much taxes I'm paying, okay? So it's not like I make a bunch of money and I pay half in taxes. I do something called 5 flags, so it's the taxes are tiny. Let me tell you what my typical week looks like. If I showed him these things, he would not believe me. He'd say, you're lying. This is bullshit. He wouldn't believe a word of it. I can tell you for a fact, because I remember me when I was in my 20s. And I'm sure in my 20s, I would have said, well, yeah, I'm sure I make $100,000 a year, maybe $200,000 a year. And yeah, I probably have a cute girlfriend, but not these chicks and not that kind of money. You're lying. You're an asshole. And that's how good my 40s have been. And everything I've learned in my 40s, you guys, not everything, but most everything, you guys have learned through my content, my free content and my books, my courses. And it's all about structuring your life in a way that is most conducive for you for long-term happiness. Everything I talk about, all of my content, everything, okay? Alpha 2.0, Black Dragon, Sovereign CEO, my business consulting, my business practices that you guys have nothing to do with, my other companies, everything is about how do you get to a point of long-term consistent masculine happiness? And how do you keep it there forever? And the only way you do that is you do things that violate societal programming. When I give speeches about this stuff, when someone hires me out to do speeches, like when I did the 21 convention, I'm doing 2 more speeches this summer in various places in the United States. You have to crank up your happiness as high as you can get it, and then you nail it there so it never drops below that. So that means you're going to do things that society thinks are weird. You're not going to go to college, and your mom's going to be furious. You're going to be non-monogamous, and everyone's going to think you're a little weird. You're going to do stuff internationally, and people are going to call you anti-American or a coward. You're going to do things that society thinks are very weird, but it doesn't fucking matter because people in society are unhappy. And in the United States, at least, they're the most unhappy they've ever been in the modern Western world. So who gives a fuck? Make sense? Who cares? That's why I say I don't give a shit about society. I don't care. And I haven't cared for a long time, especially the way they've been voting past 35 years. I don't care. I don't care. Let's see. What else I want to cover? Let me look at my notes here. Should we go to Q&A? Yeah, I've been going for about an hour. Let's do some Q&A. Hang on. Go ahead and type your questions in the chat, and I will scroll up to the top, and I will answer your questions. I'll go for as long as I can. Shit, a lot of questions. Fuck. Look at you guys. You guys are animals. Let's see. For men, it gets better with age. Yes, 20 seems like the worst decade for men. Do you agree? Yes, 20s is the worst decade for men. That is accurate. And it's the opposite for women. That's the best decade for girls, right? They're throwing parties, their 20s. And then they turn 30, they get depressed. So yes, 20s is the worst decade for men. That is accurate. That's why you might as well invest your 20s anyway. Okay? Nobody wants to fuck you. I'm exaggerating. You could get laid your 20s. You see him saying if you're that worse off, take your 20s, put your head down and work so that when you hit your 30s, 40s, you can hit them in style when everyone likes you. Woo, yeah. You're sure that you mentioned the age of younger men being 18 to 34. That's correct. That's it. Spent ages 26 to 30 paying off $50,000 U.S. student loans for relatively worthless. Yeah, and that's many Americans. Don't go to college. Don't go to college. Don't go to college. Super sexy Caleb. You're not shirtless. Dun, 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 dun. I'll do some before and after pictures when I lose weight. How about that? You mentioned material that the age of young men is 18, 34 years old. I bet a few decades back it was much younger than it used to. Age 30 used to be the age at which you stop being young. Now it's 35. Correct. That is correct. Years ago, a few decades ago, by the time you were 23, you had a job, a wife, and children, and a house. Decades ago. Yes. Soon it will be 40. Women now wanting a real man are going to have to go to 40. So these 18-year-olds, 22-year-olds, 25-year-olds want a real guy, a mature guy. Right now they got to go up to 35. Soon they got to go to guys in their 40s. It's getting worse and worse and worse, but hey, more for us. Great work. Cool. It is true from my observation I've seen the men who are 36, 37 who are not stable in life. Well, yeah, it's going to get worse. And that's an average, you know. Your model is multiple location dependent business. Correct. What if you have instead one profitable business and reinvest the money in equities and property to diversify instead? That takes a very long time to get to the point where you can make enough money. You do the Robert Kiyosaki thing where your investments actually are pulling down enough income you can live on, unless you want to live in Thailand. So yes, but that's going to take you a long time. So I like my model better. Crank up the income more so you can get to that faster. But that technically could work, yes. Bali is a fantastic country, the Alpha Male 2.0. One of my buddies, what's his name? The fire guy. He's in Bali. So Bali's great. Love it. What age category do you think it'll go up for young men? I don't understand the question. Seems like it would make more sense to focus on your competitive advantage, increase your income, and let your investments be a way to diversify both into other industries and other countries. My point is your investments aren't going to make you income for a very long time unless you're already making a lot of money in your one business. Just found your channel, like your vibe and all. Cool, dude. Love it. Let's see. What career advice do you have for musicians, artists who would have a hard time making enough going location dependent? Should they start a side business as their main Alpha 2.0 business? Here's my standard answer for any artists. You cannot make a lot of money as a musician or artist. I'm sorry, it's just not the way it works. Unless you're lucky, but you cannot emulate luck. So your best bet, your only bet if you want to make money is you build a viable business in that industry. For example, if you're a musician, instead of starting a business on how to be a musician, okay, instead of trying to, be the next Britney Spears, no, you become a producer in the music industry or a promoter in the music industry, something that actually adds real value. That would work. But if you're a comic book artist and you want to make $100,000 a year, good fucking luck. It's not going to happen. Sorry. Let's see. You guys are talking to each other. Caleb, how do you bring up being non-monogamous for a woman the first time? What if she pushes to define the relationship intentions early in the implicit phase? That is normal. She will push it. You just push it off. I'm not talking about this right now. We've only been dating a month. You push it off as long as you can until you've been dating at least 3 months, preferably 5. Then you have the talk. Mention that 40 is the minimum age for TRT. In general. But millennial men have lower testosterone compared to their fathers. Should 35 be the minimum to take TRT? You can't base it on age. If you're under the age of 40, you need to go get a fucking blood test. You do it right now. Anyone watching my content needs to get your ass next week. Get your blood tested. You need to test your testosterone, your estradiol, your thyroid, which is T3, and your vitamin D. Get those checked. Everyone in my audience, every man in my audience should know these numbers. I know what these numbers are. I can tell you right now. I know what they are because I get them tested. So if you're 22, 27, and your fucking total testosterone is 300, and you feel like a bitch, then yes, you need to go on TRT or something like that, or something, or a natural way of raising your testosterone. Yes, it's not about age; it's about what your testosterone is. I'm talking about in general. What I'm saying is it's mandatory for the alpha male 2.0 lifestyle to get to your testosterone on some sort of TRT if you're post 40, in my opinion. Unless you are a genetic freak, there are some weirdos. Some of them are some of our coaching programs who are well over 40. They've got natural T levels of like 700, 800. That's a genetic thing. Great. If you're lucky, then fine. Most better not to be lucky like that. Gotta know what it's gonna cost to take my hand and start my business. That's gonna run a few $1,000, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there. So much less expensive than my six-figure warrior mentorship. But you'll be making money at the end of 12 months. And there'll be a guarantee in there. You will be making money at the end of, 12 weeks. You'll be making money at the end of 12 weeks, or else there's a big guarantee. We haven't formulated a guarantee yet, but there'll be one. Yeah, there are guys. Wasn't there a bunch of YouTube guys, these millennial, or no, Gen Z guys in their early 20s, and they all got their testosterone, they're on 300, oh my God, 300, their early 20s, and their total T was 300? My total T is 1130. Oh no, it just dropped. It's 1100 now because I've been traveling a lot. I have the TRT, I have the testosterone of a healthy 18-year-old man. I'm 50. Let's see. What are the best books and or YouTubers for parenting? I have read several parenting books because I'm a dad when my kids were little. And I am sorry to report, most of them were terrible. They were awful. They were awful beyond belief. So I don't have any recommendations. That's a tough one. What's interesting about parenting is that every generation, the parenting has become more pussified. Now that's good to a degree. So generations ago, if you were a kid and you were bad, you got something called the belt, right? Your dad would take off his belt and whip you, beat the shit out of you with his belt. That's not good. You don't want to hit your kids. I never hit my kids. And when I married my first wife, she already had my son. I said, here's the deal. You marry me, you can't ever hit him ever again. Because she would hit him a little bit. She would like slap him in the mouth when he mouthed off or slapped his butt. I said, you can't ever do that ever again. Don't worry. If he's a little shit, I'll punish the fuck out of him. But I will never raise a hand at him. And I didn't with my children. So you can't do that. So then it was, the next generation was, you didn't get the belt, you got spanked, right? So your dad or your mom would just swat you on the ass a few times, right? And that was it. Then the next generation, this was my generation, this is after Dr. Spock and all that shit in the 60s, is that you got sent to your room. Go to your room. And what's funny about that is that when I was a kid, me and my two sisters were like, bitching and moaning at my dad or pissing off my mom or something. My dad would go, God damn it, all three of you, go to your room. And I loved being in my room. I'm an introvert. I would love spending time in my room by myself and reading The Hobbit. It was great. So I'd say, yes. And I'd run to my room and slam the door and get cozy and read a book. And I'd love it. But my sisters are both extroverts. And they go, but Dad, ah! They scream and yell and cry and things like that. So anyway, that was go to your room. Then the next generation this was the 90s. You give kids a timeout, right? Which is pretty effective. If you do it right, most people can't. It's like a soft neck. You put the kid and you put him on a chair and face him against the wall, and you set a timer for the amount of minutes equal to their age, and they can't make any noise, and then get off the chair. Okay. Then the next generation after that, which was the Mars and Venus guy talking about parenting and stuff, is no. I'm not kidding. This is in the 2000s. They said timeouts are wrong. Timeouts are emotionally damaging and harmful. So what you have to do now is you sit down. When a kid is bad, you sit down and talk about his feelings. So it went from one insane, stupid, insane to another stupid, insane. It's like Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. One insane to another stupid, insane. So I don't have any recommendations. I wish I did. Wish I went to high school in the 80s or 90s. Everything sounded so chill. Now the high schoolers are trying to act like rappers like Nicki Minaj. Well, we had two Live Crew when I went to high school, right? So there were some rapper wannabes when I went to high school. I would say 86 to 2005 was the golden age. No, wrong. Look up Moore's graphs of Moore's law. But that didn't make any meaningful difference in the computers you purchased post 1996 or so. Post 1996, when you bought a new computer, it didn't blow you away. When I bought a new computer pre 2005, it didn't blow me away. It was like, okay, it's another fast computer. So looking here, a lot of happy birthdays. Thank you very much for wishing me a happy birthday. That is very sweet. You guys are wonderful. The Black Dragon blog taught me the early ills of marriage 10 years ago. Good. That was the point of that blog. Good. Okay. I get you want to push out some info, but it's you talking for an hour now. Yeah, this is a new format that, hey, be glad I don't normally do this. Rollo does this 3 hours a day, every day, right? This is just a new format. Let's see. What do you think of the new movie Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City? Looks like shit. Hollywood cannot create good movies anymore. There's only been one good movie in the past 5 years. That was Spider-Man. That's it. Name another really good movie in the last 3-4 years. Caleb, your thoughts on a business roll-ups M&A that is highly niched? Is that Alpha 2.0 compatible, recommended model for older, more experienced Alpha 2.0? Well, that's my other company, but it is not 100% 2.0 compatible. Namely because you could make it location dependent, but you will not be able to retain 100% ownership, or it's very difficult to do it. So you're going to own 40, 50, 60% of the entity. You're not going to own 100% of it. And Alpha 2.0 compatible means you own 100% of that entity. So it's not quite compatible. I'm a Canadian. What will my tax savings look like when I go full 5 flags versus an American? You will save more because as soon as you move out of Canada, you don't pay Canadian taxes anymore. I still have to pay some American taxes because America is a horrible country. So you will save more than an American. Do it. Get the hell out. I said before, get the hell out of Canada, guys. What the hell are you doing in Canada still? And we're locked up. I'll wait. Did I go? I'm back. Hey, Caleb, make that money MMA. Hey, Caleb, when it comes to making a lot of money and working on my business, I am too outcome dependent on making what I am making in my 30s. How can I chill out while getting after it? I'm too outcome dependent on making what I'm making in my 30s. I don't understand your question. I want you to be outcome dependent about your long-term goals. So outcome independent means you are not worried about any individual interaction. If you make a sales call, you don't give a shit if you get that guy. If you ask a woman on a date, you don't care if she says yes or no, because there's 27 other women you can talk to. And there's thousands of other people you can talk to in your business. So I want you to be a little outcome dependent, so to speak, on the macro, on the big picture. I want you to want your goals. That's good. It's important. So I don't think you have a problem unless I didn't understand your question. If so, rewrite your question. Social science. George Friedman has stated that Poland, Turkey, and Japan will be a great power in 50 years. No. Is he right or is it bogus? There will be no Japan in 50 years. I don't know what he's smoking. What's your opinion about these 3 countries? Real quick, Japan, there will be no Japan in 50 years. They are not reproducing. And they're doing everything wrong economically. So no. Poland is fine. It'll collapse the same way that the rest of Europe is collapsing. It won't be the first country to collapse, but it'll collapse. Turkey I don't know. Turkey could go either way. Turkey is my opinion of Russia 5 years ago. Turkey's 50-50. Turkey can do really well or it could completely implode. I don't know. Don't know about Turkey. About their Amber series so far. Yeah. Chronicles of Amber. One of the best fantasy series ever written. Would you say your competition goes beyond 95% when you go full alpha male 2.0? Yes. I've written a whole article about that, about how we have no competition. We don't. I mean, especially in the arenas that you exist. And it's any arena you exist as an alpha male 2.0. So in Portland, I'm in one dating arena. In Dubai, I'm in a very different dating arena, but I'm still alpha 2.0 in Dubai. So I have very little competition in any of these arenas. When I go to Paraguay, I'm on a very different arena, a third arena. And I have these all kinds of edges because I'm alpha 2.0. Yep. Any particular business ideas, niches for people in comic books? What can you do in the comic book industry that was guaranteed to make you money? Selling other people's comic books, becoming your own publisher, selling NFTs, which is what we're doing. Oh, can I show you guys? I don't know SteamYard. So in SteamYard, can I bring up an image and show you the cover of the new comic book, issue number 2 of Black Dragon and Pink Firefly, number 2. Can I do that? Brand, let me look at something real quick here. Overlay, video clips, background. How about this? What does this do? Did that change anything? No. I guess not. Never mind. Anyway, stuff like that. Issue number 2 of Black Dragon and Pink Firefly will be out next week. It'll be free. Free. You said TRT was huge. Yes, one of the best decisions I've ever made. I started 6 months ago and don't feel much different. Total T wins from 500 to 1,200. You should feel different there. My estradiol is 72. What? That's high. And my doctor is happy with that. Should I get a new doctor? The question that my testosterone doctors, the answer my testosterone doctors would give you is, how do you feel? If you feel amazing, then don't make any changes. You feel very little difference, and you should from 500 to 1,200 do. Yes, your estradiol is too high. You need to get that below 30, between 20 and 30. Mine is about 20, 21. Okay? That's what you want. So yeah, something's off there, dude. Advice for a 23-year-old, recent family content. I am debt-free. Good. Have a decent investment amount in the Roth IRA and have 2 FBs. Good. Want to take action on location-independent business. Start your location-independent business right the fuck now. That is step 0 for you guys in terms of your financial life. You have no debt. That's great. Wonderful. Start it right now, which means step 1 is find a niche, a narrow niche with a strong problem or strong need. Start there. That's what you should do. Uncle Caleb, since you're now 50, so you can start calling me uncle now that I'm 50? Does that mean I'm old? Hey, fuck you, man. I think old is 60. That's my opinion. I think I'm older. I don't think I'm old till I'm 60, but again, I've had that opinion since day one. You can call me uncle. It's fine. What would you consider FU money, or is it age specific? Well, FU money is different for every person. I've talked about this in other YouTube videos. Wealth begins at $10 million net worth. $10 million net worth is truly wealthy. You are rich if you have 10 million or more. That's where rich begins. And then there are levels of rich beyond that. I have a whole thing about that. But that'd be FU money for most people, right? So there you go. But not for some. Some would say, fuck, that's not FU money. I want 25 million. Great. I have my own opinion and my own numbers, but those are secret. Caleb, what's your opinion on living with your parents in your 20s and speculating in crypto, learning how the market works to make millions of dollars? You need to move out of your parents' house as quickly as fucking possible. No excuses. That's my opinion. You're making excuses. Get the fuck out of your parents' house so you can be a free man and live your own life. Get the fuck out of mommy and daddy's house. This is a very millennial Gen Z thing. Well, there are advantages. Yes, I didn't say there aren't advantages. When I moved, I've said this before, I'll say this again. I would rather you live in a rat hole infested apartment in the worst part of town with 2 roommates than you living with mommy and daddy. Because at least the guy living in the rat hole in apartment is free. He can set his time and date and set his life agenda however he wants with no input from mommy and daddy, who still kind of run your life if you live at home with them, regardless of your age. How much of vitamin D do you suggest average men take? Get your blood test first. I can't tell you, I can't give you a number. Get your blood test. See what it is. If it's well below 50, then 10,000 a day. And take it with food that has fat in it. And then wait 3, 4, 5 months, get it tested again. You want it at least over 40, preferably around 50 or more. Mine is finally at 51. It took me years to get it there. 51, 49, something like that. Mine's great. About to buy your business course. You go through it to sell niches, etc. Yep. Are there examples of what to sell still relevant to when you wrote it, or are they changed in the post-Cerveza? Cerveza has made it easier to start an Alpha 2 business, not harder. So everything still applies. And I have some Cerveza lessons in there. We've updated some of those. We update that course constantly. So it's easier now, not harder. Got mine checked 3 to 4 years ago, roughly 650 American numbers. Love your advice. Cool. Love it. You guys got the belt? You got the belt. I got the belt. Some of you fuckers got the belt, especially you're non-Americans, or you grew up in the South. In the South, they're a little, old school in the South down there, so you get the belt, God damn it. So you get that, yeah, sure. Already formed an LLC. If you move to another country for tax purposes, do you need to form the business entity in that country? Or can you bid that business that you already started in the US? It doesn't matter. You can do either one. Just be aware of your tax burden doesn't change based on where the business entity is located. If it's located in country B or located in the US, your overall tax burden is the same unless you do something very complicated like I'm doing. So it doesn't really matter. Your primary focus is not where the business is located, but how many days a year you spend outside the United States to qualify for the foreign earned income exclusion. That's the focus, not where your business should be. Once you're out of the country, then you can tweak things a little bit. You need to get out of the country first. Have you written about converting a traditional girlfriend to an open relationship? Yes, I have an article about it. I have a mini course about it. And I have a few other things. And I have a book about it. So I have a lot of stuff. Go to alphamale20.com and click store. I have all kinds of stuff about that. Yeah. 8 months, no, I love yous. Didn't have the talk. Well, you don't have the talk if it's monogamous. Brought up your ideas and she was passive about it. You don't bring up the ideas. You say, this is what I'm going to do. That's how you do the conversion. First of all, you have to be comfortable with her leaving you because she could say, fuck you, and never see her again. Odds are low if you've been a good boyfriend, but you don't say, hey, what do you think about, that's what most guys do. That's very beta. You say, hey, as of this date, 30 days out, I'm going to start doing this. You'll be my girlfriend. I will wear condoms. I'll get an STD test. No one will know. You cover all the objectives right before she says them, and then you move on from there. And that's a very brief summary. Where in Southeast Asia is good for Alpha Male 2.0 live? Just about anywhere except Myanmar right now. God, just about anywhere except for Myanmar or Laos. So Myanmar and Laos, deduct those two. Anywhere else, they're all great. Are true Alpha Male 2.0s immune to hypergamy and monkey branching? No, they're not. I watched your video twice. Can you please expand by further why Alpha 2.0s aren't affected by it? Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. So, boys, this is a complicated topic. Hypergamy means that you're going after someone who has more money or is more confident or what have you, okay? That's what hypergamy means, correct? That means that you're not getting your needs met. She's not getting some needs met as a man. So there are women who have left me for men who are better looking than me, but they came back. So if you're an Alpha Male 2.0, the women come back. They don't leave and never come back. They always come back because you were non-monogamous to begin with and you were judgmental. So do you think I worry about Pink Firefly leaving me for a guy with more money? No, I just don't, because that's not the model set under which an Alpha Male 2.0 lives. I don't know if that makes sense. It would take me another 10 minutes to explain all this. So you're asking a big question. Now what you are susceptible to, which is why I said earlier what I said, no, they're not immune, is that women will still leave you as an Alpha Male 2.0, but they'll leave you for who? Beta males. So are beta males going to serve her needs long-term? No, that's why they come back. I have a 94% return rate, and this has been consistent with the past 50 years of my life. A lot of women who have returned to me once they left me. Right now, hypergamy applies to the beta male the beta male who's competing against other high-income beta males. Make sense? So if you're a beta, will she leave you for another beta with more money? Yeah, probably. Yeah, sure. But you're not a beta when you're Alpha Male 2.0. It's a whole different thing. Make sense? That's why. What do you think about looks maxing? How can I do to avoid being rejected if I have an ugly face when trying to market my new business to new customers? Yes, you should maximize your physical appearance based on your age and genetics. Yes, I've said that 1,000 times. That's step one. You have to maximize your physical appearance. Yes. If I ate whatever I wanted, I would weigh 400 or 500 pounds. I know that because I have a sister who weighs 400 pounds. She can barely walk upstairs. She can't even stand. She has to sit. She's so gigantic. And a sister looks just like me. because she eats whatever she wants and I don't. So you have to max, yes. You have to do it. Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Business too. Ugly face, wear a suit and tie. Dress up. Look good. Look as good as you can. Hair, skin quality, what you're dressed as. Yes, all those things. Your posture, things like that. I like the live streams. Thanks for doing them. If the haters don't like them, they can watch any of the videos. Well, I don't think that guy was a hater. I think he was just giving me his opinion. And whenever you change formats, you get people go, I don't like that. And I'm not saying this is permanent. I'm doing this temporarily because the next week or so, I won't be able to do a lot of recorded videos because I'm moving my wife to Dubai. My wife and her dumb dog. Let's see. What I meant by my question is that I'll compare what I'm making as a 30-year-old business owner to family members, who work in the corporate world and make $150,000 and say, fuck, I'm falling behind. Okay, I've mentioned this before. Your corporate family members are not making $150K, they're making half that. They're paying taxes you will never have to pay as a self-employed business owner. Certainly as an Alpha 2.0 business owner. So they're not making that. So cut in half whatever they make. You're going to pay a fraction, even if you don't leave the country. You're going to pay a fraction of taxes. Before I moved out of the United States, I was making, I'm not going to give you the number, a lot of money, and I was paying between 14 and 18% total taxes. Okay, most people making six figures as an employer are paying 50 to 60% of their total income in total taxes. So that's step one. Step two is they're locked into that income level. They're not going to make more. So if you're an employer, you make 150,000. Are you going to make 250,000 the next year? No. But you're self-employed, you can. I've done it many times. I've 3x, 4x, 5x my income in as short as 8 months, which you have the ability to do as a self-employed person instead of a goddamn employee. You should feel sorry for those people, not be jealous for them. I don't know who that is. Was that someone asked me about that last time? Gonzo Lira. I don't know who that is. Oh, Coach Red Pill. I don't know. I know who Coach Red Pill is vaguely. I don't consume a lot of content of other Red Pill guys because I don't have time. I run 3 companies and I travel. I just don't have time. If this is all I did, if this internet sovereign CEO Alpha 2 is all I did, then I'd have a lot more time to research other people in the space, but I just don't. And need to surpass them on competitive. Well, you will surpass them in terms of after-tax income. You will. You will. I promise you will, as long as you stay at it. Correct. Red Pill is a door you pass for, not a door you pass through, not a house you live in. That's one of my quotes you guys like the best. I got other guys quoting that to me. Red Pill is a doorway you pass through, not a house you live in. Right. Well, can young guys, maximize their chance of success? I'm 21. Focus. Young guys have trouble focusing. Sit the fuck down, put your head down and work for 3 hours straight or 2 hours straight on your business or on your improving your dating life or whatever your objectives are. Focus. Guys, especially young guys today, are not focused. They're on their phones, talking to their girlfriends, on the internet, farting around with Netflix. Focus, focus, focus. That's number one. You are very welcome. I have a seemingly impenetrable block, had it for almost 2 years now. When I hear you say, start your business now, any recommendations how to overcome this? That means you're too comfortable. That's what that means. What you're saying is, I'm too comfortable. I'm not in enough pain, so I don't bother to start my own business. You need to get in touch with the pain. What if you don't start your business and 5 years from now you still haven't done it? How do you look? How do you feel? How much money are you making? How happy are you? How do you feel as a man? You need to increase the pain. Get in touch with the pain and the discomfort. Write out everything about your life you hate. And also write out how it's going to get worse and worse and worse if you don't make a change. You guys are too, it's not just you. A lot of you guys are way too comfortable. The reason I earned the money I earned when I was a kid is because I was ridiculously uncomfortable. I hated being poor. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. The reason I did so well with women right after my divorce, it didn't take me very long. I hated not having sex with women who were really hot. I hated it. I didn't say, oh, this isn't that bad. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. I said no, because I got in touch with my pain and I felt miserable, and that's good. What can we expect for the cultural collapse to happen in the West? You're going to see movies, TV shows, books get worse and worse and worse, which you already have. I don't even watch movies anymore as of 2017. You're going to see a greater embracing of woke and left-wing ideologies. And on the other side, the right-wingers, Trump-supported people are going to get even crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. So it's going to happen on both sides. That's what's happening. Where in Mexico is good to set up residency? Planning on set up that country is my plan B. There's lots of places in Mexico that are good. I like Guadalajara, but that's kind of a simplistic view. There are all kinds of cities and locations in Mexico that are fantastic. And I'm not a Mexico guy yet. So I'm not the guy to ask. But in terms of places to go, Guadalajara is my favorite, but there are lots of places. Do some research. Go on the Sovereign CEO Facebook group and ask some guys in there. Go on some Reddit groups. Guys expats, Westerners who live in Mexico, and ask them, what cities do you like? This is random, but I was listening to the Unchained Man, but that's close enough. And you mentioned paperless office. Yes, I've been paperless since 2010. Do you see any paper in this office? I mean, you really can't see, but there's not a single piece of paper on this desk anywhere. There's a plastic calendar over there that I plan on, and that's it. There's no paper anywhere. There's a big table over there. There's no paper. I don't do paper. Paper's stupid. I'm trying to purge all my papers and files. Do you have any tips on operating a paperless office? Well, first you have to make that conversion. You scan everything. Scan everything, not just paperless, medialess. So back in 2010, it took me 6 months to do this. I took every piece of paper I needed. I scanned it, organized it into directories. I took every CD, I burned it, took the music off it, every CD I owned. Every DVD, I burned that into my digital movie collection. I had a bunch of cassette tapes because I'm old school. I copied those. Actually put a cassette tape in a little cassette player, pressed play, had a wire going to my computer, and I recorded that, the audio files, and I got rid of everything else. And that's it. You just got to become organized with your directory structure, which is not difficult to do. Does eating collagen supplements do anything? My understanding is no. What's funny is Pink Firefly was doing that briefly. She was doing collagen powder. I think it's bullshit. You're digesting it, so I don't think it works. Why is mental health getting worse? Because we live in a collapsing society, and as society continues to collapse, more and more people are going to go crazy and anxious and anxiety and need more drugs. It's going to get worse and worse. I find it as bad, especially among women. Yes, why is that? It seems they enjoy having mental health problems. They don't enjoy having mental health problems. They're more mentally susceptible to those kind of things because they're more emotional than us men. A few days ago, I didn't mention this. I'm not coming back to Portland ever again as far as I'm concerned, minus maybe a day where I have to do my storage unit. I went and I looked at my high school, went down to West Lynn, Oregon, and I went and looked through my high school just to reminisce because I'm leaving this part of my life behind. And I noticed walking around the high school that I went to in the 80s from 1986 to 1990, all these signs saying, are you feeling scared or frustrated? Mental health is important. Call this number. Mental health is very important. Mental health. And are you feeling threatened? Are you feeling triggered? Are you feeling all over the high school, these papers and plaques? And I'm like, we didn't have any of this here in the 80s because we weren't a collapsing country in the 80s. This is what happens. You have the lesser of two evils for 35 years. You fuck people up. Yeah. If it takes 1 to 2 years to make a business, I said 2 to 5. You could do it in 1 if you work hard. What should I focus on? Focus on getting a remote job so I can leave my Western country. Focus fully on building my location-dependent business. I'm going to do a YouTube video about that because a lot of you guys are asking me that question. It depends on your scenario. It depends on you. Depends on what country you're in. Depends how much money you have. Depends how much debt you have. Depends on what you're going to do for your business. There's a lot of factors involved. There's no right or wrong answer. It really depends on your scenario. I lean in the direction of saying, get the fuck out of Canada, United States, Western Europe, and figure it out when you get out there. But that may not be viable for some guys. So it really depends. What are your thoughts on Puerto Rico as an Alpha 2.0 location? It's great. It's not for me. It's not for me. I don't like hurricanes. So it's not for me. Lower tax, beautiful women. Yeah, for Americans, yeah. Drop your taxes to 4%. Not bad. Yeah. Not for me. Not for me personally, but for Alpha 2.0, yes. What do you think about the black pill? We've always had these guys. We've always had that category of men, and it's just a larger percentage of men now. Those are men who don't want to be happy. They are unhappy, and they're looking for external reasons as to why they're unhappy. I'm unhappy because of women. I'm unhappy because of feminists. I'm unhappy because of woke socialist, or whatever it is. You're unhappy. If you're chronically unhappy, there's one reason. It's you. It's what you're doing. It's your actions. You can't. Especially all the stuff that I've seen throughout my life, including things I've experienced, where average looking or even borderline ugly guys can have sex with really hot girls. I've seen it over and over and over and over and over, and that violates their entire worldview. It's all about SMV, 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 SMV. So, but these are men who don't have a priority on finding happiness. They have a priority on pointing fingers at why they're unhappy to external factors. Have you ever considered making cosmetic surgery for the older alpha male 2.0 mandatory similar to TRT? Yes. Yes, I get Botox. I haven't had it in a while because it's kind of worked. I don't need that much. But that's not surgery though. Yes, I will get surgery done down the road. Maybe 10 years, get a little lift or whatever. I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do, but right now I don't need it. But yes, older dudes, 55, 60 plus. Yes, you should get something done. Yeah. If it's good enough for Stallone, it's good enough for you. So yes, older guys. Same question. Caleb, I'm a Muslim. I live in the UAE. Cool, dude. I can get 4 wives. So I'm non-monogamous. Your thoughts on that? Now, we can't have a discussion here about this, but what kind of Muslim are you that you could get 4 wives? I mean, I guess you could. I take that back. You could in the UAE. I know guys. Yeah. 4 wives sounds like a living hell to me. It always has. Having more than 1 wife, I would rather someone shoot me in the fucking head. Wives take time and effort. I love my wife, and she's the most wonderful woman I've ever been with my entire life. And that's the truth. But wives take some bandwidth. They take some energy. And the last thing I want is multiple wives taking up all that energy. I have shit I got to do. I have businesses to grow. I have places to travel. I have a mission to work on. The last thing I want to do is sacrifice that energy from that to manage multiple wives. Shoot me in the fucking head. Now, can that work for some people? Yes. Mr. Lucario was at my event last week, and he has a girlfriend and a wife. So he's able to do it. It works for him. He doesn't have 4 wives, though. So that's why my model is OLTR. You have a wife or girlfriend, and you have FBs on the side. FBs take almost 0 energy, and the ROI in FBs is very high. The happiness my FBs bring me is a lot, but they take me very little energy. It's great. So that's my opinion on it. Clear in the UAE. Having trouble niching my copywriting business. Got my first client who is a sales coach. I wrote some FB ad copy for him in exchange for a testimonial. Thoughts? Great, do it. Good. That's fine. I have no problem with that. In the Jada Will scenario, I think Will is not a beta, but a mild alpha male 1.2. You're correct. I find that unlike true blue 1.0s, mild alpha male 1.0s go beta very fast. Worse, either the true betas. Would you say that Jada is a dominant? Okay, so you're right, and here's the fundamental misunderstanding. I have said this. I've been saying this for 15 years. I was saying this in the back when I was doing pickup artist stuff as a pickup artist dude. Okay, alpha males get one-itis harder and faster than beta males do, and people go, "What?" Yes, because beta males live in a state of one-itis all the time. One-itis is normal to the beta male. So when a beta male gets one-itis, it's not unusual for him. It's the norm for him. But when an alpha male, a real alpha male, 1.0 or 2, but it doesn't matter, gets one-itis, it's different. And they're not accustomed to it, so they get one-itis harder than most beta males do. And Will Smith is a perfect example of this. So the answer is this. Would I say Jada is a dominant? Jada is an extreme dominant. Jada runs his ass. He is very quickly becoming a beta. He's not a beta, but he's going the path that my father did, where he started as an alpha male 1.0, married my mom, and over the many years, decades, became more and more beta, and today he's a beta. And that's not an insult. That's just who he is. He would say the same thing if he was sitting here. Just saw my dad yesterday. I'm saying goodbye to all my family members. So the answer is yes. I am too comfortable. You're right. I know. How do you balance outcome independence with being uncomfortable with how your life currently is? One has nothing to do with the other. You're outcome independent. And if you are unhappy, you make a change. One has nothing to do with the other, in my view. Do you see yourself buying that old 80s Toyota Supra model you had when you were a kid as a classic car to enjoy on weekends? No, but what the car I would buy is the car I always wanted to own, that I owned for about a year, is the 1996 300ZX, not 350ZX, the Nissan 1996 300ZX. If I if I wanted a car, any car I wanted for fun, it would not be a Lamborghini. I mean, I probably would be a Lamborghini. Not be a Tesla, although it probably would be a Tesla. I mean, if I was, if money was no object, I'd probably buy all these cars. But one of the cars I would buy would be that car, 1996 model. I love that car. That was so fun. God damn it. It was so great. So not that car, but I'd buy that Nissan. When are you in the self-actualized phase of your life? I don't know. When do I get there? I don't know. I move in phase 2 in about 3 years. And I won't be self-actualized by then, but I'll be pretty close. I don't know when I'll hit that. Don't know. Couldn't tell you. Hopefully soon. 60? I don't know. Good question. Do you think if you're selling information as business? For example, if it's an ebook, can this be done in 3 months and sell it? Yes. Yes. I can write an entire book in 4 months. Now, I'm a natural writer. I'm good at writing. When I was a little kid, they asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I want to be a writer. So I like to write. So that's my skill. That's my strength. If that's your strength, yeah, you can crank out a book in 4 months, 3 months. Sure. I could crank out a book in 3 to 4 months. 4 months with my other stuff. Yeah. Most of the new versions of my Black Dragon dating manuals I wrote or rewrote from older versions in 4 months. Yeah. But again, I love to write. That's my thing. I want to ramp up my dating with attractive ladies. Okay, that's a good idea. What are your suggestions for introverts on not being intimidated by hot girls before meeting, when first meeting, when getting first sexual? So the first time will be the scariest, and it's a muscle just like anything else. The very first time you're with a super smoking hot girl, you'll be a little weird. Your dick may not work perfectly, and that's okay. The second, third, fourth time, you'll be just fine, and you'll say, why did I even bother hooking up with these average-looking girls? That's what I went through. So it's the first time is the hardest, and you let that be okay. That's the first one. Second one is hot girls are just as fucked up as non-hot girls. Trust me on this. Trust me on this. I hook up with Instagram models who have millions of followers. They have all the same fucking problems and all the same fucking bullshit in most cases that normal everyday women who are 5s and 6s have. They're not special that way. They're not. Trust me. The old saying, hey, he puts on his pants one leg at a time. Same thing with chicks. Caleb, I'm 31, and so far every year I keep getting more attractive and higher quality young women. And I wish it'd never end. I relate to that. It doesn't have to end. Who said it has to end? I know it will. At what age realistically will it start going down? It doesn't have to end. The difference is you'll have to start spending money to do it. So what I have said is, assuming you keep yourself physically okay, when you hit 60, guys who are over the age of 60, if they want to hook up with young, hot girls, so if you're 62, you want to hook up with a smoking hot 22-year-old, you're going to have to spend some cash. That's just the way it goes. But you still can. And what I've said is by the time you're in your 60s, you should have plenty of money. Money shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't be difficult for you to whip out $300-400 every once in a while when you hook up with a smoking hottie when you're in your 60s. And if it is a problem, boy, do you have a big problem in life. It has nothing to do with girls. If you don't have any money in your 60s, kill me. So it doesn't have to end. I will never end. My party will never end. It's just that the amount of money I'll have to spend will have to increase or what have you. And I already do some sugar daddy game now. So I'm already used to this at this point because I travel so much, I don't care. No. Any suggestions for niching, though? Well, that's too general a question. Who requires copywriters? You're the copywriter guy, right? Who requires copywriters? What is a narrow subset of those people? Not fitness, because that's not a niche. Okay, what's a narrow subset of that people? And what is a niche that you find interesting? You start there and you start brainstorming. I had $20K in student loan debt. You think if I ran out and moved out of the US, I don't have to pay it. I want to leave ASAP. Well, that's a moral question. And that's up to you. I don't do things that are unethical. I don't steal. Borrowing money and not paying back is stealing. So I don't do that. So I would never do that. I might be late on paying it back. All right. I may not give a shit, but I would pay it back. But that's me. So many of you guys disagree with me on that. If you never, you could do all kinds of interesting things if you never return to the United States ever again. If you moved out of the United States, you said, I'm never coming back to the US ever again for any reason, there's all kinds of things you could do, ethical or not. But that's your decision. All you guys who are struggling to take action, watch SEO podcast number 9. Watch from 5 minutes and 47 seconds. Kayla was talking about Agent 47 Hitman. It was a mental trick, extremely powerful. Yep, cool. It's way better to be an alpha male. I'm finding that middle-aged women over 40 and single moms love if you're a beta as they want more control. Correct. If they sense you're an alpha, they leave. That's correct. That's correct. Women over 33 have higher ASD. They're provider hunters. Alpha males bother them. That is accurate. So that's a decision to make. Do you want to keep dating women over the age of 33? If you do, you have to be a little more patient in terms of the number of dates it gets to sex and a bunch of other things. Yes, it's harder. You're correct. It's accurate. Many years ago, I drew a line at 33 and said no one over 33 with rare exception. And that's why. I didn't want to work that hard. How do you maintain the positive mindset needed to be productive and crush goals while acknowledging your situation isn't what you want it to be? No, you're not getting it. You crush your goals because your situation is not what you want it to be. Use that as motivation. Every morning you should wake up and say, I hate my fucking life. I better get to work. Okay? You accomplish your goals because you hate your scenario. That's how I accomplished mine. I hated not having money. I said, I hate not having any money. I better get to fucking work. I hate not having this. I better get to work because I want money, because I hate not having this. It's one and the same. Would you suggest using Amazon as a means to sell your ebooks if you decide to go that route with your location-dependent business? You should do that as a subset. You make more money if you sell your own ebooks through your own mechanisms. I sell my ebooks on Amazon, but I make a lot less money because Amazon takes a big cut. But you still want them on Amazon for your branding and for extra money and for people to get the word out. Ideally, in a true business, your ebooks sell something that's more expensive. So if they buy it on Amazon and you make $6, you don't really care because every person who reads your book, a percentage of them are going to buy your more expensive thing. Service, course, consulting, whatever the hell it is. Start taking cold showers, ice bath, caffeine and other drugs. Yep, I do not drink coffee, never have in my life. Just wondering if you ever read M.J. DeMarco. That sounds very familiar. Do you agree with him on personal finance and business? Is that Mr. Mustache? I don't know who that is. I know that name sounds familiar, though. I heard if you don't pay loans back, the IRS will hunt you down. You think that's true? Yeah, student loans, yes, because those are quasi-governmental. It's possible. Yeah, that's probably accurate. Yeah. Now, again, if you say I never want to come back to the United States ever again, fine, do whatever you want. If you're going to come back to the United States, you better pay your loans. You don't want to land in the United States and get arrested at the border. You don't want to do that. Do you think Dogecoin will go to $1 eventually? I do not. I do not think that'll happen to Dogecoin, no. All right. Well, are we done with the questions? Should we wrap it up? I'll wait till there are 1 or 30 seconds. There's more questions. If not, we'll wrap it up. And I'm doing the next live stream on Saturday at, let me see what time. Let's see. 6 p.m. EST on Saturday. 6 p.m. EST. I talk about true sovereign CEO. How you have to live free in a socialist world. We'll talk about that. All right. I don't see any more questions. So let's wrap this up here. Let's see. Yuri Lee says, Caleb, one question. Okay, type fast. Type fast, Yuri Lee. Who's super sexy Caleb Jones? Who is that? Oh my God, a whole bunch of questions came in. Okay, hang on. Must have been a delay, sorry. What do you think Bitcoin worth in 5 to 10 years? I have no idea, but a hell of a lot more than it's worth now. It is a good investment. Steve Saylor is right. Michael Saylor, excuse me. Michael Saylor is right. I have a lot of Bitcoin. You should too. But again, I will repeat. Hang on. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Again, I will repeat about the Bitcoin thing. Focus on your income, not your investments, unless you're already making a lot of money. Okay. I don't want you, particularly you younger guys, to focus on Bitcoin as an investment unless Bitcoin is your business. Other than that, Bitcoin is fantastic. You should get a lot of it. Yes. Caleb, do current FBs and MLTRs that turn 33 provider hunter get kicked off due to becoming provider hunter-ish? The MLTRs often do. I don't kick them off, but they will kick themselves off. Yes. FBs, no. You can have FBs who are over 33 because they know you're not their boyfriend, and they can have an FB and it's okay because they can go get a boyfriend or husband and still have you as an FB. Okay. What's my view on China? China will run the world. However, China's doing, I mentioned this last time, China's doing everything wrong right now. So they are delaying their takeover of the world because all the stupid shit they're doing, but it's pretty much inevitable. America, China, the Western world, Western civilization, the collapsing trifecta, America, Canada, Europe is doing literally everything wrong. Literally everything wrong. At least China's still doing some things right. They're much smarter. They have a much better long-term view. I don't like their view, but they have a much better long-term view in terms of being strategic and intelligent. So they will take over the world. They will run the world the same way the United States run the world now in this century, but there will be a delay because China's doing a lot of stupid shit right now. Do I have an Ethereum validator? I don't even know what that is. So no, I don't. Please check him out. He just moved out of Scottsdale, which I heard he'll be visiting soon. I know 2K at the moment, but let me know if you want to meet up. I don't know who that is. When you'll be launching your Hold Your Hand product, May or June. It is called the 90-Day Business Builder. Unless we change the name, but I think that's the name we're going with. 90-Day Business Builder. So in 90 days, you will literally be making money. You mentioned before you don't mind Alpha 2.0 moving there. Oh, you could move to China, sure. As a Westerner with a good VPN who makes money from outside of China, yeah, you could move to China. That'd work. You bet. Sure. Which I think is weird because there's no freedom. You need to read the blog article and the YouTube videos I've done, how you can be more free as an individual in a less free country. Mexico is a less free and more corrupt country than the United States, but you will be freer living in Mexico than living in the United States as a location independent sovereign CEO. Okay. If you go to China and you're a political dissident and you go get a job in China, no, you'll have less freedom. But that's not what we're talking about here, is it? You got to contribute to bottom line after 60. If paper, yeah, yep. If girls says she doesn't want to have sex straight away, and you agree, I wouldn't agree with that. Will she then see it as a beta for agreeing with that? Yes. When you agree to women's model of you need to wait several more dates before I have sex, you're starting the relationship off on the completely wrong tangent. That's the wrong way to start a relationship. You need to start the relationship with a sexual frame. So, no. Doesn't their president act like a little bitch when he's compared to Winnie the Pooh? Right. China's going to be the largest share of global GDP in 2050. Before 2050. Before then. Great session. Thanks. Happy about it. Thank you. All I'm asking is how to get not crippled by how much you dislike your life. You need to get off this, dude. You're stuck on this thing, okay? Or that it prevents you from moving forward, or is that just another way of avoiding feeling the pain? Yes. And if it's really, really bad, as I always say, and no one likes it when I say this, if it's really paralyzed you, you need to go get a therapist. You start talking to somebody. Get a guy therapist. The first one will suck. The second one will suck. Fire him, fire two, to get the third one is good. And you might have to talk this shit out. If it's really paralyzing, the way it goes. Thoughts on moving to Russia? Again, like moving to China, that could work if you're an Alpha 2.0 sovereign CEO, location independent income, external to Russia. That can work. You could make that work. That would not be my first choice, but you certainly could definitely make that work. And boy, would you get laid. Woo! My goodness. Western guy making good location independent income in Russia? Hello. Let's do 3 more questions, and I'll wrap it. How long have I been going here? Almost. We'll end it right at 2 hours. Cool. I don't see more questions, but the platform might be buffering them, so I'll wait a sec. I'll just sit here and relax. I have a lot to do tonight. It is 6 p.m. here in Portland, and I'm going to be working hard tonight. What makes Colombian ladies hotter than Filipinas? Well, I hate to say this. Filipinas are not attractive. Filipino women have ugly faces, in my view, in my opinion. Colombian women have harsh-looking faces, but they are attractive. Number one. Number two, Colombian women are more curvy. Filipinos do have bigger boobs than most other Asian women. That is true. Matter of fact, they're probably the biggest boobs of all Asian women, if you consider them Asians. But you like big boobs, you go to Colombia, they're gigantic there, and big asses. The asses are amazing in Colombia, and Filipinos don't exactly have the greatest asses in the world. That's why. Now, if your focus is, I'm a beta, and I'm new at this, or I'm recently divorced, and I just want to get laid, don't go to Colombia, go to the Philippines. That's way easier. You will get laid like a rock star. You go to the Philippines. Go, go, go. If your priority is the hottest girls, then you would go to Colombia. If your priority is just, I just need to get laid, go to the Philippines. Any thoughts on making money if creating music is your greatest skill? What I said earlier. Focus on something in the music industry. Making music is not going to make you money. It just isn't. Sorry. There's a reason that I don't write fiction. I would love to sit and write fantasy fiction all day long. I don't do that. Why? It doesn't make any money. I'd love to do it. And I have a pretty good skill for it, I think. But it doesn't make any money, so I don't do it. Most Asian women aren't attractive. I'm too used to the way the American blonde women look. Well, that's your opinion. I think Asian women are hot and blonde women are hot. Asian women are my second favorite. Curvy Asian women are my second favorite. Blonde women are my favorite. Curvy Asians with boobs and butts, which is rare. Those are my second favorite. In your Aqua Independence video, you talk about not being like whatever bitch, but on the second date, they don't want to have sex. That's my default, and it's making me have a hard exterior. You need to examine what you're doing wrong. Question number one, are they over the age of 33? If they are, that's why. You have to wait a few more dates. Sorry, that's the way it goes. If they're all under the age of 33, the very first thing you look at is in the mirror. What are you doing wrong? What can you improve? You're probably doing something wrong if this is a pattern. And again, I'm assuming it's many women, not just the last two. Guys will say, girls always do this, or women always do this. But when I ask them questions, it's 2 or 3 women they've experienced, not 27 in a row. So go on a lot of dates and then get an average, okay? And then you look at that average and say, how can I improve? Which is exactly what I did. Exactly how I improved. Filipinos are at least cute. If you date a Filipino as a Western white man, her friends and family will question how she landed such a handsome guy. Right. Thoughts on Montenegro? Montenegro's great. Love it to death. Andrew loves it. Don't my cap, he loves that. Montenegro's good. Good country. Okay, guys, I have to go. I will see you guys if you want to do this again, because I'm doing this again on Saturday, what is the date Saturday? Saturday the 23rd, 6 p.m. EST. Cool. I'll do another live stream. I don't think I'm doing any next week because I'll be moving next week, so we'll see what happens, but definitely on Saturday. Cool, guys. All right. I'll let you go. Have fun.